Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Rosa Maria. Today I have another simple, easy bag to learn. And this is a cute tote bag. And it has side pockets here on the side, as you can see. And we're going to be working on also adding a pocket, as you can see here. It has a pocket inside. So this is a very simple, easy project to learn. So grab your tools and your materials and let's get started on this project. Materials and tools you're going to be needing for this sewing project. You'll be needing a ruler. You can use either a rotary cutter or a pair of scissors. And also you're going to be using a boner, a coordinating thread of your choice. You can use a friction pen as a marker, or you can use a chalk, some fabric pins, and also some sewing pins, and the fabric of your choice, and the lining of your choice. The first step you need to do is you need to cut out 2 pieces of your fabric, and the size you're going to be cutting these 2 pieces are for the handles. So you need to cut 12 centimeters by 36 centimeters. So you cut 2 pieces of that. So once you cut both of those pieces, next step is we're going to iron. We're going to first fold and then press it real good. And then you're going to use this fold over here as your guide. And we're going to fold this right close, not on the fold side line right there. And then we're going to iron again. And then I'm going to turn this to the other side. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold. Give it a nice good press. And once you do that, it was kind of hot, mercy. Okay, so once you do that, okay, let me just fix. So once you do that, then you're gonna refold it again. Cool. So once it's refolded, you're gonna press. Give it a nice good iron. Oops, I think yeah. Give it a good iron. And this is what it's gonna be looking like. So you're gonna fold this in half, remember? We're folding it. And then once we finish folding that, you're gonna do the same thing to the next handle fabric here. And then we're gonna take it to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch right here across and also to the other side over here. So let's go to the sewing machine so I can show you how to do that. Okay, I'm here at the sewing machine and I'm gonna start to sew. Back stitch. Now stitching on the other side. You can see we finished stitching both of the handles. Once you have done that, I'm gonna move this aside. We're gonna work on our next project. So our next project is, this is the inside pocket. So this is the lining that you're gonna be using for the inside pocket. And the size you're gonna be cutting this pocket, only one piece, is 20 centimeters by 36 centimeters. So once you cut the size, what you're gonna do is, see the printed side here? I'm just going to fold it in half and make sure the printed side is inside. And then I'm going to take my fabric clips. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna leave an opening here. So this opening, leave it about this size here as I'm showing you. And I'm gonna keep that sewing pin here and leaving another sewing pin here, because this is going to let me know that this is a space I need to let, but this is a space I have to make sure that I don't sew through. It has to be open. And then do a little pin over here, just secure everything, and a pin over here. So we're gonna take it to the sewing machine, and then we're gonna stitch here, going across, then you're gonna go down, and the same thing, you're gonna stitch going down, and then you're gonna go across, and make sure that you leave this opening. So these sewing pins here again is to remind me, do not pass, do not sew further. Okay, so let's take it to the sewing machine so I can show you how this goes. I'm here at the sewing machine. So we are going to sew 1 centimeter for the seam allowance. So let me start now. Back stitch. Now I'm gonna move it, pivot. Now I'm gonna go and remove this sewing pin. Now I'm going to sew the other side here. And back stitch. Pivot. As you can see, I finished stitching. And I make sure that I left that opening here in the pocket open. Let me see, as you can see here. And then I'm gonna take my pair of scissors and I'm just gonna gently just trim off the corners, and I'm gonna make sure that I don't cut off the thread. So be very careful when you're doing that. Just gently cut small little corners. Okay, let me remove all this out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to turn the fabric inside out. Finally got a little corner here and got the other corner here. And now I'm going to get the other corner over here. And this corner over here. As you can see here, this is what it looks like. And then give it a good iron. Once you give it a good iron, let me just make sure I fold this here correctly. Okay, so once you give it a good pressing iron, we're gonna take it to the sewing machine, but make sure that the side that you have the opening is facing down, because we are going to stitch across here the fabric, and you are going to leave about 2 centimeter seam allowance. So let's go to the sewing machine and stitch across. And remember, do not stitch across where the opening is. Just make sure that you stitch here on the top here. All right. As you can see, I stitch across 2 centimeters for seam allowance, and I also made sure that the opening at the bottom was not touched. So now, the next step is you are going to take your lining fabric, and the lining fabric here, you are going to cut 1 piece, and the size you're going to be cutting is 40 centimeters by 62 centimeters. So once you cut that, that'll be great. Then we are going to fold it in half, and I'm just gonna make a little crease over here, and then open it. I have my little crease, as you can see here. And then I'm gonna take my inner pocket and making sure again that the opening is in the bottom, and I'm gonna fold it. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna align the fold with the fold here for the pocket with the lining. And then I'm gonna take my ruler. I have here my ruler, and I'm gonna measure 7 centimeters from here, and then move the pocket a little bit up. So again, making sure that it's 7 centimeters, and making sure again that it's aligned right over here. Some 7 centimeters. So once I have marked that, then I'm gonna take my sewing pins. Okay, so I'm gonna start to use my sewing pins, and I'm gonna start to pin the inner pocket onto the lining. And I'm just going to put a pin here in the middle to kind of keep everything centered. So once you finish pinning, we are going to go to the sewing machine, and then we're going to stitch here with the top ear all the way down, across, and then going all the way up. So let's go to the sewing machine so I can show you how to do that. I'm going to start to sew. Okay, as you can see, I finished stitching these 3 areas. Now that I've done that, now I'm gonna fold the fabric this way. Make sure that everything is aligned. And then you're gonna cut out a template. So the template will be 6 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And I'm gonna take my friction pen, and let me just turn this around, makes it much easier. And then I'm gonna place the template here on this corner, make sure it's aligned, and then mark it out. And then I'm gonna do the same thing to this side over here of the corner, and I'm gonna make my marking. Okay, so once I finish making the outline, I'm gonna take my pair of scissors, and I'm gonna start to cut the corner. As you can see, I have both of the corners cut. Now I'm going to turn the fabric inside out. So I just want both of the printed side facing together. And then I'm going to start to pin here at the side. Okay, so once we finish pinning the side, we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we are going to start to, of course, stitch all here down here, and we're going to have we're going to stitch and make a 1 centimeter seam allowance for both sides. So let's go to the sewing machine. As you can see, I finished stitching. Now that we finished stitching, now we're going to make the box corner. So take the box corner here and try to line it as neatly as you can. And then I'm going to take my sewing pin to secure it right over here, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Align it, and then take my sewing pin. I think I should put one and put another one over here to secure it. Okay, so both sides, let me just change the position that I have my sewing pin. And I'm just making sure I open it so everything is nicely neat. And to secure here. And at the same time, secure here at this end. So once you have both sides pinned, nice and neat, we're gonna take it to the sewing machine, and then we're gonna stitch 1 centimeter across and 1 centimeter across for both corners. Okay, we're here at the sewing machine. I'm gonna remove my sewing pin, back stitch, now sewing the other corner, back stitch, as you can see, I finished stitching both of the corners here. Now that that is done, now we're going to take the lining and then we're going to put it aside, and we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, now the next step, you need to cut out 4 pieces. So 2 pieces of the main fabric and 2 pieces of the lining. And the size you're going to be cutting all 4 pieces is 18 by 18. So make sure you cut all the 4 pieces, 18 by 18, 2 pieces of the fabric, and also 2 pieces of the lining. So now I'm going to move this aside. And what you're going to be needing to do is, I'm going to turn this over so it makes it easier. You're going to take your ruler and your marking pen here, and I'm going to measure 2 centimeters, and you're going to mark it 2 centimeters, and to this side over here I'm going to mark also 2 centimeters. Once you mark those 2 centimeters, I'm going to take the ruler and align the corner here of, as you can see here, against the markings that I have made. And I'm going to take my marker again, and I'm going to just mark from here to here. So I'm doing a little marking over here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use that line there as my guide and make a marking also. if you have your rotary cutter, you can just cut it, that space. I'm gonna use my chalk over here so I can see clearly where the marking is. And I'm doing this to this other side, making sure it's okay. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. It just makes it easier for me so I can see. So once you make those, once you cut that, like I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna start to cut. And then this side also. Okay. So once you finish cutting these sides, you're going to do the same thing to the other 3 pieces. As you can see, all 4 pieces of the fabric have been cut exactly like the first one that I showed you, and also the lining has been cut. So once that is completed for all 4, next step is I'm going to take one of my fabric piece and my lining piece, and I'm going to make sure that the print side is facing up for the fabric, and for the lining I want to make sure that the lining pattern is facing down. And I'm going to align it, and I'm going to take my sewing pins to secure, to make sure that both of the fabrics are together. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing to the second one. And secure and secure. Okay, so once that we have both of these 2 pieces of fabric, these are the side pockets. I should have made that very clear. So these are side pockets. We're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to top stitch here on top. Make sure you're top stitching this section, not the section here that is much narrow. Start here in the top, and the seam allowance is going to be 1 centimeter for both of them. So let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, now I'm going to start sewing, and seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Now I'm sewing the next side pocket. Okay, as you can see here, I finished sewing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to open here the seams, and I'm going to take my iron and press. Oops. Okay. Ooh, and it's hot. So once the seam is open, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Give it a good press, and then you're going to do the same thing to this side. Of course, you're going to open it up, give it opening up that seam. I'm going to turn it over to the other side, and then I'm going to start to give it a good press. Okay, so now that we have all that taken care of, I'm going to fold it, as you can see here. Fold, and then at the same time, when I'm just give it another good press. Okay, and then we're going to take both of these side pockets, and we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch here across for both of them, and we're going to use a seam allowance 1 centimeter. You can see we finished stitching across both of the side pockets. Now that we're done, I'm going to just put this aside for a second. Next, you need to cut 2 fabric pieces. Your outer, this is the side of the fabric for the bag. So the sides you're going to be cutting is 14 centimeters by 26 centimeters. You're going to cut 2 pieces. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to align, as you can see here, I'm going to align the piece here together. And then I'm going to move this and align this to the side, making sure that both of the edges are side by side. Okay. I'm going to turn it this way and do the same thing. Align both of the edges together. I'm doing that here for this one too. Okay. And the last one over here. All right, as you can see, I finished attaching the pocket, the side pocket onto the side fabric here. And now that that is done, we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch here, here, and here. So the seam allowance will be 0.5 centimeters. So let's go to the sewing machine. The seam allowance is 0.5 centimeters. I'm going to start to sew. I'm going to remove the pin first, the sewing pin. Now I'm working on the second side pocket here. As you can see, I finished sewing the side pocket to the side of the fabric. This is what it looks like. Yay! All right. Now I'm gonna put this aside for a few seconds. The next thing you need to do is now you need to cut your fabric. That is the outer fabric. One piece, you need to cut it 28 centimeters by 62 centimeters. Once you cut that, that'll be great, and then we can move on to the next step. So what I'm going to do is take one of the side pocket. I'm going to lay it here on the side, and I want to make sure that it's even, it's aligned with the cut here and aligned with the cut here. And then I'm going to take my fabric clips to secure it. Once that's done, I'm going to do is take the other side pocket, do the same thing, face it down with the printed side, both facing together, and align it. And then take fabric clips. Okay, let me just fix this one over here a little bit. It seems a little bit off here. It's not aligned completely on the top. Okay. And center it over here. Make sure everything is even here. Okay. Now that we have that secure, we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to stitch all here across, right over here. So of course, the seam allowance we're going to be sewing for both of the sides will be 1 centimeters both sides. So we're going to sew this area. I'm here in the sewing machine, and I'm going to start to sew, and I forgot to change the seam allowance here. As you can see, I made a mistake over here. It was not 0.5 centimeters. So now I am moving it and set it to 1 centimeters. And here I go and start to sew. Back stitch. Okay, now I'm sewing at the other side. As you can see, we finished stitching the side here, 1 centimeters. This is what it looks like when you open it up. Okay, once that is done, now we're gonna fold this here, because we're gonna now attach this side. Let me just move this over here. We're gonna move, put these two together, and of course, fabric clips. Making sure everything is nicely even to secure, to take it to the sewing machine. And I make sure that everything is good. Okay, and then again, we're going to take this side and put some fabric clips on it to secure. Put one over here. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing. We are going to stitch along the side here, and it's going to be 1 centimeter for the seam allowance. As you can see, we stitch the side, so both are done. So now we need to create that little corner box. So you're going to see it's going to be kind of wonky here. That's okay. I just want to make sure that the center is even here. And then I'm going to take my sewing pin and secure this here. You're going to see a little bit wonky here. That's okay. And I'm going to put another pin over here. And then tilt this. And that's okay, because I'll show you what to do in this area. Make sure it's all aligned and center. Okay. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other side over here. Create the box corner. Let me move this way better. Like I said, center this. Take your sewing pin. Sewing pin. And then okay. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to be sewing the seam allowance will be 1 centimeters for this side, and also 1 centimeters for this side. So let's go to the sewing machine. I'm going to start to sew 1 centimeters for the seam allowance. Back stitch. Now I'm going to sew the other side. So now you can see that we finished stitching to create the box corner for both ends here. Now that that's done, we're going to turn the fabric inside out, and we have those box corner. Finger over here. Okay. Now that we have those box corner, now the next thing is we are going to work on, we're going to find the center of this bag so we can add our handles. So I'm going to just fold the fabric, as you can see here, in half, and I'm going to find the center, and I'm going to take my sewing pin here, and I'm going to place the pin right over here. That helps me know that that's where the center is, right over here. Okay. Now that we have that settled, you're going to take one of your handles, and we're going to take one of the rulers, and then we're going to measure 5 centimeters away from where we have the sewing needle as our guide, as center. And then we're going to do the same thing, center it, and make it over here is 5 centimeters. Now that we have our markings for our 5 centimeters, I'm going to place the handle. As you see, I'm going to align it right over here and put a fabric clip right there, and then making sure I'm turning it around, and I'm going to take another fabric clip to secure it, and then I'm going to turn it over to the other side. As you can see, I have my sewing pin there, and I'm going to take again my ruler, mark out 5 centimeters, and here we are. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to mark 5 centimeters, making sure my ruler is aligned. Okay, and this is 5 centimeters right over here. And again, we're going to take our handle, line it up against the marking right over here, and place the clip. Move the handle, and then here we are. Put a fabric clip right over here. So I'm going to remove the sewing pin out of the way, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to use a seam allowance will be 0.5 centimeters. So you're going to stitch across, and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Stitch across, stitch across. I'm going to start sewing 0.5 centimeters for the seam allowance. I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3. To mention that when you're sewing the handles, make sure that you are sewing 3 times across. I'm going now 2nd time, and this is going to be my 3rd time, and I'm coming to an end. Okay. As you can see here, we finished sewing the handle onto the fabric, so both are completed. Now the next step is I just want to make sure that the seam here and the seam here, both of these seams are matching, and both of these seams are also matching. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to just trim a small little corner off here, and then do the same thing to this side, making sure everything is even. Trim a small little section off. Okay, so once I finish trimming these small little section, I'm going to take my lining fabric and I'm going to place my fabric piece inside of the lining. Once that is done, I'm going to make sure that I match a little piece that I've made. That's my little guy there where this is going to be matching. So I'm going to be matching the seams to this corner. And I'm going to use my fabric clip. And I'm going to move it to this side over here and do the same thing. I'm going to match, as you can see here, these seams to the little corner that I cut off. Now, make sure that your handles are inside. Okay, and then you're going to start clipping all around. So I'm going to do that now. As you can see here, I've finished clipping all around, and I left 2 spaces here. So these, now as you can see, I have 2 sewing pins here. And the reason why is to allow a space opening. So making sure that we don't sew in this area. We're going to start from here, and then we're going to sew around, and then we're going to end here. So the seam allowance will be 1 centimeter. So let's go to the sewing. Back stitch. As you can see, we stitched all around, and of course, leaving an opening here. Now that we have this opening, we're gonna turn the fabric inside out. Now that we turned the fabric inside out, take it to the iron and give it a good press. And once you give it a good press, then you're going to take your fabric clip, and then you're going to start clipping all around the fabric. Okay, now that we finish clipping the fabric clips, we're going to take it to the sewing machine. We're at the sewing machine, and we're going to top stitch all around, back stitch, As you can see, we finished stitching all around the bag. So this is a cute little bag, and we are completely done making this bag. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to make this tote bag with side pockets and also a pocket inside. It's very simple, easy to make. And also I just want to note to everybody that In the description box below, I listed all the materials and tools that you're going to be needing, and also a link where you can purchase the material. So until next time, bye.